Previously on Mustang Prince Orro Reports.
Well, that's all for... hello?
Hello, Joshua.
Who's this?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Yeah, if you're wondering who was on the phone earlier, don't worry about it. It was just some insane weirdo who was requesting me to blog tonight's movie. So, how should I start this one? Oh yes, aside from Halloween, there's another horror movie that's considered as a cult favorite, Scream. Created by Kevin Williamson and released in 1996, the film focuses on teenager Sidney Prescott as she comes under attack from a mysterious character dubbed Ghostface while dealing with the anniversary of her mother's murder. The film went on to become a financial success and received considerable critical acclaim for its deconstruction of the horror genre. It is credited for revitalizing the horror genre in the mid-90s and inspiring an array of imitators. And over the years, Scream was followed by 3 sequels in 1997, 2000, and in 2011, and an anthology TV series which aired for 3 seasons from 2015 to 2016 on MTV and on VH1 in 2019. To me, the thing that I find interesting about the Scream movies is the way they combine a traditional slasher film with humor. And I like that all 4 movies were directed by Nightmare on Elm Street creator Wes Craven, who sadly passed away in 2015. As for Ghostface, well, while he is portrayed by a different character in each movie, as well as being a psycho nutjob in a Halloween costume, I find him to be a clever, cool, and interesting horror character. Plus, I think Roger Jackson, who you may know as Mojo Jojo from the Powerpuff Girls, Maester Keenock from Final Fantasy X, Spike the Porcupine from the Rita Rabbit games, and Professor Botch from Clue Finder's 4th grade, does a very creepy performance as the character while he phone calls his target to taunt and threaten them. Plus, I think Billy Loomis and Stu Macher are classic ghost faces, while a couple others like Mickey Altieri and Nancy Loomis from Scream 2 were excellent. Charlie Walker and Jill Roberts from Scream 4 were surprising, and Roman Bridger from Scream 3 was a tad forgettable. By the way, for those who have seen my blog of Halloween Kills with my friend Scott Addison last year, I mentioned that a new Scream movie would get a theatrical release. And of course, it's the subject of my blog tonight. Released on January 14th, 2022, the movie is Scream 5, or as the marketers simply call it, Scream 2022. Now, on for the plot of the movie. 25 years after a streak of brutal murders shocked the quiet town of Woodsboro, a cute teenage girl named Tara Carpenter is attacked by a new killer donning the Ghostface mask. Her older sister Sam, along with her boyfriend Richie Kirsch, and several of Tara's high school friends visit her at the hospital. Later on, the Ghostface killer calls and threatens Sam while targeting a group of teenagers in order to resurrect secrets from the town's deadly past. Worried for the safety of her friends and her sister, Sam contacts one of the original victims, Dewey Riley, for help, who then warns 2 other original victims, Sidney Prescott and Gail Weathers, about Ghostface's return. Question is, who is Ghostface, and how many more must die? So, what are my thoughts on the movie? Well, in my opinion, this movie was really nostalgic, suspenseful, incredible, and horrifying. And, of course, I had a lot of fun seeing it in theaters back in January. And to further explain why I like it, let's move on to Mustang notes. Now, firstly, while this Scream movie is billed as a relaunch of the film series, unlike the Halloween requel trilogy from 2018 to 2022, which is a follow-up to the 1978 film and ignores the sequels, this film is a direct sequel to Scream 4. And it's also the first film in the series to not be directed by Wes Craven, following his death in 2015. The film is dedicated to Craven at the beginning of the closing credits. After the release of Scream 4 in 2011, Wes Craven, along with writer Kevin Williamson and executive producer Harvey Weinstein, had doubts about proceeding with more movies following the less than expected box office performance of the fourth movie. However, after the 2017 sexual assault allegations against Weinstein and the closure of the Weinstein Company, the rights to the Scream franchise were obtained by Spyglass Media Group in November 2019, who confirmed that a new movie would later be made. The following year, Williamson, who was returning as executive producer, confirmed that the movie would not be a reboot and that Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett of Radio Silence had been hired in March 2020 to direct the movie. Principal photography was originally scheduled to begin in Wilmington, North Carolina in May 2020, but was sadly delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Filming instead began on September 23, 2020, and it took place across several avenues in Wilmington, including exterior shots of Williston Middle School and interior shots of Cardinal Lane's Shipyard and 10th Street between Ann and Castle Streets. Filming was completed on November 17, 2020. During the post-production stage, Michelle Aller served as the primary editor for the film, and post-production on the movie was completed on July 7, 2021. Now, it's been about 9 months since I've seen this Scream movie in theaters, but from what I can tell, like with the new Halloween movies, my experience seeing it on the big screen not just felt different, but also more suspenseful compared to watching the older movies on DVD. Also, I think the look of Woodsboro in this movie brings back a lot of fond memories from the first and fourth Scream movies, even though, like most horror films, the hospital scenes still give me the willies due to my fear of medicals. Also, the scenes with Ghostface are pretty intense and heart-pounding, and after 11 years, I think Roger Jackson does a great job while threatening several victims on the phone. Speaking of which, I find it pretty interesting that each of the teenagers in the movie are somehow linked to the original killings. And I also find it very creative on how the film combines the violence of the slasher genre with elements of black comedy and whodunit mystery to satirize the trend of reboots and legacy sequels, or requels. The film also provides commentary on the horror fandom culture, particularly the divide between elevated horror and classic slasher films. And that's all I got for Mustang notes, so let's move on to the cast. Our main character, Sam Carpenter, is played by Melissa Barrera, whom I only remember from the 2021 film version of Lin-Manuel Miranda's In the Heights. Sam is a young woman from Woodsboro who lives in Modesto, California. When she was 13 years old, she discovered that her real father was Billy Loomis, one of the original Ghostface killers, which drew Sam into a troubled adolescence before leaving her family and Woodsboro at the age of 18. And ever since then, Sam has been living in fear that she herself would become a psychotic killer. Upon receiving a call from Wes, who she used to babysit for regarding Tara's attack, Sam returns to Woodsboro after 5 years to be with Tara as she recovers. In my opinion, Sam seems like a very sympathetic main character, and ever since I saw the movie in theaters, I've been wanting to say that just because her father was an insane serial killer doesn't mean she's one herself. Also, the scenes where Sam sees hallucinations of Billy in her mirrors were pretty bone-chilling. Next is her sister, Tara, played by Jenna Ortega, whom was in the MCU's Iron Man 3, Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, along with the 2015 Richie Rich series, Disney Channel's Stuck in the Middle, and she voiced Princess Isabel in Elena of Avalor. And she'll be playing Wednesday Addams in the upcoming Wednesday series on Netflix next month. Tara is the first target of the new Ghostface, and I'm glad that she survives the attack, unlike the other first victims during the beginnings of the past 4 movies. Tara admits to being a fan of elevated horror, citing the films Hereditary and Babadook. While recovering at the hospital, Tara is initially excited to see her sister Sam after 5 years, but unfortunately, it grows distant when Sam reveals that her biological father was the insane Billy Loomis. After she is attacked again at the hospital, Sam decides to bring Tara back to Modesto. In my eyes, Tara has got to be one of the most memorable new characters in the movie, and I think Jenna Ortega's acting is absolutely excellent. So much so that she actually won an MTV Movie and TV Award for Most Frightened Performance. Plus, Tara kind of reminds me of my relationship with my sister, due to her growing up adoring her older sibling, who is also 5 years older than her. Also, I thought the part where Tara officially kills off one of the villains with a gun was really brave. Next is Sam's boyfriend, Richie Kirsch, played by Jack Quaid, whom was in the Hunger Games movie. Richie is also Sam's co-worker at the bowling alley in Modesto, and he accompanies her to Woodsboro for emotional support. In my eyes, Richie seems pretty similar to Charlie Walker due to him being another stab fanatic, and he felt that the franchise needed to be saved. However, spoiler alert, when Richie reveals himself to be one of the Ghostface killers, he explains that his master plan is to make a real-life reboot to Stab, with Sam framed as the killer, which to me sounds really insane. Plus, Richie stole Tara's inhaler so that she, along with Sam, Gail, and Sydney, would fall into his trap. Next we come to Tara's best friend and Richie's accomplice, Amber Freeman, played by Mickey Madison, whom was in the 2019 animated Addams Family movie and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. After moving into 261 Turner Lane, the house where Stu Macher used to live, Amber became obsessed with the original Stab movie. However, she was not fond of the sequels, and after being disgusted with Stab 8, simply known as Stab, she met Richie Kirsch on a Stab sub re-edit, where they devised a plan to create a requel to the original Stab using Sam and Tara Carpenter as the basis for the movie. On the 25th anniversary of the original Woodsboro killing spree from 1996, they put their plan into motion, and they lure Sam back to Woodsboro by targeting Tara. She even manages to murder legacy character Dewey Riley, which she calls an honor. Now let's move on to the legacy characters, starting with Sidney Prescott, once again played by Neve Campbell, whom was in The Lion King 2 Simba's Pride and the Disney Plus musical biography film Clouds. In the original Scream, Sidney was the main target of the original Ghostfaces, which were her boyfriend, Billy Loomis, and his best friend, Stu Matcher. But in this movie, about an entire decade after her cousin Jill was defeated, Sydney is revealed to be married to a man named Mark, with whom she has 2 kids. After receiving a phone call from Dewey, Sydney, along with Gale, returns to Woodsboro to help Sam Carpenter and her sister Tara kill the new Ghostfaces and avenge Dewey and the other victims. Next is Gale Weathers, played by Courtney Cox, whom was in the live-action He-Man movie, Masters of the Universe, along with Zoom, Barnyard, and Bedtime Stories. Gale is a news reporter and an author whom had written at least 7 books based on Sidney Prescott's life. And during this movie, sometime after the 2011 murders, Gale and Dewey become divorced, and she moves to New York City to host her own morning show, and she quit writing as she never had time to focus on it. When the murders in Woodsboro start again, she makes the decision to return just in time to learn that Judy Hicks had been killed. Upon reuniting with her ex-husband Dewey, Gale expresses her anger with him for only sending her a text, but thankfully the two reconcile after years of being apart, and after Dewey's murder, Gale and Sydney join forces to help Sam and Tara put a stop to the new Ghostfaces. Next we have Dewey Riley, played by David Arquette, whom was in The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, Sea Spot Run, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and he voiced Scully the Parrot in Jake and the Neverland Pirates. Dewey is a retired Woodsboro sheriff, and during this movie, he's now a depressed 50-year-old man living in a trailer, and he's been requested for help by Sam Carpenter due to his experience with the Woodsboro murders of 1996 and 2011. To me, Dewey gets the most character development in this film compared to Sydney and Gale, while helping Sam protect her sister and find out who is behind the new murders. Plus, Dewey's death at the hands of Ghostface makes me think of Han Solo's death in Episode 7 of Star Wars. The last legacy character to talk about is Sheriff Judy Hicks, played by Marley Shelton, whom was in The Sandlot, Uptown Girls, Sugar and Spice, and Rampage. The last time we saw her was in Scream 4, where she was Dewey's deputy, and before that, she was Sydney's former classmate. However, in this 5th movie, Judy is promoted to sheriff, and she is the mother of Tara's friend Wes. Sadly, Sheriff Hicks doesn't get too many scenes in this due to the fact that she, along with her son, get subsequently murdered by Ghostface at her house. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, Scream 2022 is a great new addition to this fan-favorite franchise. The story is not only clever due to it paying homage to other horror films and being treated like a requel, but it's also nostalgic, intense, bone-chilling, and some parts really do put you on the edge of your seat. The new main characters are interesting and memorable, and the legacy characters are classical. And the new Ghostface killers have an understandable but insane motivation for killing people. Still, while I don't really recommend this movie for anyone under the age of 17, if you folks love scary movies, or if you're into the Scream films, be sure to give this movie a watch, especially during the Halloween season. I give this movie a full 100%. But if you think the Scream franchise is over yet, well, think again. Because next year, there's going to be a 6th installment, and I just hope it'll be just as good as this. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me next time, where I share with you the very first R-rated horror movie that I've ever watched, Mustang Power.